Hello everyone. We'll be starting shortly, like in 5 minutes or so. Please call your friends and like everyone to join soon. Hello everyone. Uh, just like can you just someone confirm if I am audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, cool. So yeah. Hello everyone and welcome to the first session of the AIML track at GDSC Triple IT Hyderabad. I am Shrey Gupta. Hello, a fellow UG3 student at Triple IT Hyderabad and also the AIML team lead at GDSC. Today, my team, comprising of Gurkirat, Yash, and Akshat, have prepared a fun and informative session for all our newcomers so that they can hopefully get an insight into the world of AIML and start their journey in this field. So, without any delay, I'm pleased to welcome our speaker for the talk, Mr. Rajesh Sridhar Bhatt. He has been an active contributor to the AIML community with various research papers under his name at many A-Star research conferences throughout the world, mainly in the fields of NLP and computer vision. Rajesh has also been one of the leading speakers in both national and international conferences, including ODSC and DataSpark AI Summit, Silicon Valley AI Summit, among many others. He's also a Kaggle expert, a Google developer expert, and has been associated with Walmart as a senior data scientist for over 5 years now. It's a huge honor that we have him with us today, and let's try to make the most from his experiences. Rajesh, the stage is now yours completely.
Hey, thanks, Shay. Thanks for the introduction, and I'm glad that I'm part of this talk. And yeah, thanks to GDSC team for inviting me for this talk.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Let me share my screen. Just confirm that you guys are able to see the PPT. Okay.
Yeah, it's visible now.
Yeah. So I'll be giving a brief introduction of what AI is and different terminologies that we use. And people a lot of times get confused with, let's say, machine learning, deep learning, AI, how all these are connected together, those kind of things, right? So this is how the agenda looks like. Not very technical heavy, so that people who are starting in this field, so they can also understand, right? So keeping in mind, so prepared the presentation. So yeah, initially we're talking about what is AI and different like subfields in AI. Then what are the difference between AI, machine learning, deep learning, how all they are like related. So those things, and then I'll be talking about different types of ML algorithms, like ML being part of an AI. So I'll be talking about those things, touching upon supervised, unsupervised reinforcement learning. Then I'll be coming to deep learning, and then talk about like why it's popular, different reasons why it has become popular and been the like buzzword for like past few years. So then finally I'll be pointing you guys to like few resources that you can refer to like start your journey in this particular field. Yeah, I hope that sounds good to you all, and yeah, I'll get started. So before diving deep into the what is AI and those things, right? So let's try to understand like so in what kind of task humans are good at, and how this was like used, and how AI field started, so those kind of things, right? So basically humans are good at reasoning, right? So let's say so this is the input data and this is the output data, right? So this was actually one of the Kaggle competition where, so given the input you had to predict the output in this particular fashion. So now if I give one more image, right? So what would be the prediction? Can you take a guess based on looking into the first part of the image?
Like
Like what we
mainly
would
it will
do
be
or
like
what the computer would
Yeah, what we would do. I mean, given the first input and output, right? So now given a new sample, like how would you go about like predicting the output for that?
filling in all the black squares that are completely surrounded by green ones.
Exactly, right? So here, I mean, what I'm trying to say is, so we had just one input and one output associated. looking at the input and output, so we were able to reason that, okay, so this black face is basically this black area, right? So that needs to be filled with yellow color, right? So just a single sample was enough for us to like come up with the output for the second one, right? So we are good at reasoning, right? And also we are good at learning, right? So in this example, you can see like driving car is so easy. So Mr. Bin is sitting on the car and then trying to navigate and drive it, right? So just a funny example there. But yeah, I mean, learning is also very easy for us, right? With some supervision or to some extent with some reasoning and thinking, we can learn by ourselves, right? So, but for AI systems or like if you had to train a machine, then it's a very harder task. So one example is like self-driving cars. We all know that from so many years, so much effort has gone into this, right? For building self-driving cars, and still like self-driving cars are not on road. And looking at, I mean, roads in India, you can think the complexity, right? So compared to, I mean, the roads that are in abroad, right? So yeah, even abroad also, I mean, self-driving cars, they are not on road, still being experimented, tested in different scenarios. And sometimes we hear the news that there's some accident that is taking place, even if, I mean, self-driving car hitting person or any other objects, and failure because of that, right? But for humans, it's very easy, right? So reasoning, be it be learning, it's pretty easier, right? So to train a machine to do mimic what humans do, it's like a pretty hard task, right? So basically like the term artificial intelligence, right? So I mean, how to make the machine intelligent enough to take decisions and make predictions, so that is like pretty hard, right? So now let's see what exactly is like AI, and then we'll talk about few terminologies about ML, DL, and other things. Okay, so AI is nothing but so it's any technique that enables machine to like solve a task in a way like humans do, right? So AI was there from 1950s only. It was not like, I mean, recently AI came into picture, so it's not like that. So artificial intelligence was there. It was like kind of logic based. So those kind of things. Sometimes it's like a program that used to run certain tasks. So those kind of things, right? So those were already in place. But at that point of time, there was not good hardwares that in place, and so they were not able to like train the machines. So those kind of challenges were definitely there, right? And so it's like then came the machine learning. So machine learning is like nothing but algos like that allow computers to learn from examples without being like explicitly programming them, right? So there are like a lot of techniques. So I'll be talking in detail about this. So like supervised, unsupervised, those kind of things. So then came artificial neural networks, which were mainly inspired by like a brain, how our like human brain functions, right? So we have like set of neurons in our brains. So basically millions of neurons are there, and based on what we see and what we hear, and based on that, so these neurons take collectively take some decisions, right? So people are trying to mimic those things artificially using like different like programming aspects, right? So yeah, so basically I would say artificial neural networks is nothing but like brain inspired ML models. And so then recently came like deep learning. Recently, when I say recently, it's around like 2010, around that time, right? So there's some improvements in the compute as well, like the hardware became cheap. Because of that, people were able to like train models with huge data. So yeah, and so basically deep learning is nothing but it's also a subset of ML which uses deep artificial neural networks. So it's still the artificial neural networks, but it's like a number of layers. So those kind of things are like very deep, right? So it's basically dealing with uh, hierarchy of like data representations, right? So I'll talk. This might, if people are very new to this field, so this might be, I mean, a few terms are might not be very familiar to you guys. So I'll walk you through different terminologies that are used in like deep learning, machine learning, so those things, right? So any questions so far on the differentiation that so that I explained right now?
So like one question that I directly have, like you said, machine learning is basically mostly based on data. So
Yeah.
like reinforcement learning, like, is that also part of machine learning, or is that a separate part of AI itself?
No, reinforcement learning is also like a type of machine learning. So in machine learning, we have like supervised, unsupervised, right? So similar to that, reinforcement learning is also just a part of that. So I'll come to that. Yeah, I have
Okay.
like those slides in. Yeah, I'll be talking about that soon. Yeah. Uh, Anything else? Yeah, definitely. Like, feel free to stop me or ask questions. I don't want like this to be like kind of like only me talking and you guys are just hearing this. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean now so coming to the different types, right? So artificial intelligence, as I said earlier, like ML is also a field of that, and deep learning is also like a field of that. So it's not just that. There are like a lot of other things like NLP, vision, speech, planning, robotics. So all these things all like fall under the main bigger umbrella of like artificial intelligence, right? So in NLP, it's like let's say understanding the sentence, question answering, text generation. So recently there is a lot of improvements in this area as well. And so in vision also a lot of improvements in vision because of transfer learning. So those kind of things. So I'll be talking in detail about those things as well. Okay. Yeah. So let's come to the like at least like top 3 types of machine learning algorithms, right? So it's like, I mean, there are other types as well, but these are like most used ones, I could say. So one is supervised learning. Basically, there's some supervision. Unsupervised learning, you don't have any supervision. And reinforcement learning is like you learn by experience. So basically, getting rewards. So those kind of things, right? So let's start with supervised and unsupervised learning, right? So let's say you're trying to train a machine to differentiate between apple and bananas, right? So there is some supervision over here, right? So you can see there is someone helping the machine saying that, okay, the machine looking at this image is saying it's a banana. Then so there's a person saying, no, it's not a banana, it's something else, right? So yeah, usually what we have is we have the training data. So in this case, it's pictures of like bananas and apples. Okay. And we also have like associated labels. So X is nothing but a picture and Y is nothing but the label that is associated with that. So Y is nothing but a banana or an apple, right? So yeah, and so this is, that's why so we say that this is supervised learning, right? So we have a supervision on like what exactly these images are, right? So and so because of this supervision, if let's say agent is making some mistake, then so it's penalized for that. And then eventually the model is trained in such a fashion that like they are able to predict in a well fashion, right? So that is the main end goal in the supervised learning. So in unsupervised learning, it's like you just have the training data, so without labels. It's just like few images, right? So there, the robot is trying to, or the machine is trying to see, okay, looking at different attributes. So in this case, let's say if you look at the colors, right? So colors of bananas are like obviously like yellow or slight variants of yellow. Colors of apples are like, so in this case it's green, right? So it's trying to group the data based on certain attributes or certain features that it has, right? So there is no supervision there, right? So it's tried like it tries to group the data and it sees, okay, can I make it better based on certain criteria, right? So then based on that a decision is made, and then the groups can be slightly modified, right? So that is basically like unsupervised learning. So yeah. So yeah, I hope this is clear to everyone, and so I'll be talking about different, basically different types that we can have in supervised learning now. Okay, so yeah, in supervised learning, so we can have a regression task, and also like we can have a classification task. So in both the cases, as I said earlier, we'll be having the labels, right? We have the training data and we'll be having the labels with us. So regression task is nothing but like predicting a continuous variable, right? So let's say, so in this example, it's like, let's say what is the temperature going to be tomorrow, right? let's say we have already trained the model using the historical data, right? When I say historical data, it's like when we, let's say we have like previous year's data with us to train a model to predict what will be the temperature in the future, right? So historical data is nothing but a training data. So we'll be having set of features like did it rain yesterday, was it very sunny yesterday, so those kind of features. Just very simple examples I'm giving over here. So yeah, based on that, so we can train a model and then make the model to predict continuous variables. Okay, now yeah, same thing can be asked in a different way, right? So will it be cold or like very hot tomorrow? So this is like kind of a classification task, right? We just need to know will it be cold or hot. We are not worried about like what exactly the temperature would be tomorrow, right? So it's a classification task. So in the first case, we had continuous variable. So the continuous variable was the temperature. In the second case, it's a categorical variable. So the two categories are cold and hot over here, right? So that's why we are building a classification model. So yeah, this is to explain in simple terms. If you want to like see it graphically, so you can like have the classification and regression task in this particular fashion. So where we have like x1 and x2 could be like set of features, and so then you're trying to distinguish between these two classes, right? So here, so green is a single class, and whatever you are seeing, the other color is like second class, right? Let's say this is data points relating to the previous example. Let's say this is the data points related to temperature being very hot, and this is the data points related to temperatures being very cold. We just need to classify, right? So we are trying to draw addition boundary between these two, set of data points that we have, right? So that is like basically classification. Now, so regression is like, so you have a feature on the x variable. Let's say, so what was the temperature previous day? So historical data, like few features are there, and then you are trying to predict. Okay, given like we have like features from the previous model, then what will be the when we have the features from the let's say from the previous historical data. So yeah, like what will be the temperature? So it's like I think in high school days we all studied that, okay, y is equal to mx plus c, m being the slope and like c being the intercept, right? So basically trying to fit a straight line given the data, right? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Next is like unsupervised learning. So as I said earlier, so we don't have like labels associated. So we just have like data without any labels, and then based on certain features, we are trying to group them, right? So it could be visual features or it could be something else, right? So yeah, one other example could be like let's say yeah, in a classroom, given the marks of different students, uh, professor wants to like form like two groups or three groups, right? So there we can have the like marks as a feature, and then we can try to like cluster based on the marks of the students, right? So basically high scoring students, or maybe like low scoring ones, or and who are in the middle range. So we can specify like number of clusters we want, or maybe we can also learn about what is the number of optimal groups that needs to be formed. So those kind of things. Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay, yeah. So we'll move to the next part. So I think Shrey is also asked, right? So is reinforcement learning is also part of machine learning? Yeah, definitely yes. But the way we do it, it's slightly different. So basically, so we have an agent and we have an environment, and then we have a like specific task that agent needs to learn, right? So in this case, so you can see this particular agent needs to reach this particular goal. So there are like few obstacles. So basically kind of a maze. So this agent has to navigate through this maze to get to this particular tree, right? So yeah, so here the actions are like moving left, moving right, moving top, moving down. So these are the actions. And so based on the actions that is taken, a reward is given to the agent. So let's say agent is in this place and takes a decision to move right, but there is an obstacle. So in that case, a reward might be like negative, or there might not be any reward for that because it's not it's moving towards the obstacle, right? So if agent is let's say moving towards the empty region, then a reward like it might be a positive reward. So it's very similar to let's say we are learning bicycle for the first time, right? So we'll be like falling so many times, but so it's falling is an experience, right? So based on that particular experience, next time we know that okay, if this particular scenario is there, then we know not to repeat that particular scenario based on the prior experience that we have, right? So that is like kind of reinforcement learning only. So we know that okay, if I when I'm riding a bicycle, if I go towards the right or lean towards the right side, then I'll fall because I lose the balance, right? Because I know that because I have already like fallen on the ground because of doing that, right? So that is like kind of an experience. And reward, what I got is like I got hurt because of falling, right? So if I'm like balanced and riding the bicycle, then I'm able to reach the destination which I need. So if I'm balancing and moving, then I'm getting a positive reward, right? So those kind of things. Basically, this reward function can be designed, right? So it's depend on what kind of task we are trying to achieve, and also to some extent the domain knowledge is also required. So this reward has to be designed in such a way that the agent is able to like reach the end goal in a quicker fashion, right? So that is the like whole notion of reinforcement learning. And so here on the right side you can see, so let's say when we are not connected to internet, then what we do is we play this particular game, right? So just clicking the space bar whenever there is an obstacle, and then making the like dinosaur jump, and then trying to score more, right? So here in this example, there are like a lot of GitHub repositories uh, working in this area, saying that deep convolution layers, deep neural nets can be used to automate this using reinforcement learning. So here action is to like jumping is an action, right? And reward is like very related to the points that we are getting, right? So if I'm not hitting the obstacle, then the reward should be high. If I'm hitting the obstacle, then there has to be negative reward, so that with experience the dinosaur should not touch that particular obstacle, right? And here the state is every frame, right? So every frame is nothing but a state, right? So in the diagram you can see there is a state and agent moving from one state to another state, right? So every frame in the picture is nothing but a state, right? So because the environment changes, so basically given that particular state, what should be the optimal action that needs to be taken? So that is, I mean, that has to be decided by the agent based on the experience, and then finally achieve the goal that the agent needs to solve, basically. So that is a whole notion of, this is just an example of what exactly reinforcement learning, with an example of I mean how this can be applied to games, so that I mean you guys can relate to this and understand what exactly is reinforcement learning. So yeah, I mean, so these were like three broad types of machine learning. So yeah, any doubts so far?
How difficult is it to train something according to each model?
How difficult is to train what? I didn't get the last part.
So, how difficult is it for each model to be trained? Does supervised learning take more power, or does reinforcement learning take more power?
No, it depends on, I mean, what kind of task you're going to solve, right? I can generally say that, okay, supervised learning is easier or reinforcement learning is easier. So it all depends on the task in hand. Does it answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Next, yeah, I mean, this is not like widely used in terms of like classifying types of different machine learning algorithms. So this is one more type, I would say, and also like widely used when there is like scarcity of labeled data and you have some few labeled data in hand. So it's semi-supervised learning. So what we do is like let's say we have the labeled data initially, and we train a model, right? Once the model is trained, then we use the model to predict on the unlabeled data, right? Then once we make the predictions, then we can use the predictions as like pseudo labels. I mean, we can use the predictions and label the data basically, right? So we had labeled data, we trained a model, then we have unlabeled data, we make the predictions on the unlabeled data using the trained model, and then we put the labels based on the predictions. So now what we have is, we have labeled data, we have the pseudo labeled data as well, right? Then we combine this and then try to train the model, improve the model with the extra information that we have, right? So here again, there are like a lot of ways. So there are a lot of techniques where, I mean, let's say we have like 10 data points. We make the prediction on 10 data points. We'll not use all the 10 data points. We'll choose the data points where model is very confident enough in its prediction. We'll use only those data points, right? So that we are not putting any garbage when training the model, right? So we are using only the samples where the model is predicting, I mean, model is very confident enough, right? So then, so this cycle, I mean, this is like kind of a cycle. So it's an iterative process. So with the pseudo label data, we train the model. Again, the same procedure happens, right? So the same thing is like depicted here. So whatever circles you are seeing, right? So the purple and the green one, the triangles over here. So these are nothing but the label data, and then we try to learn a. Let's say we are doing a classification, then we are trying to fit a boundary, and then trying to label other data, and then try to fine tune the boundary, right? So that is what semi-supervised learning is. Okay, yeah. I'll move on to deep learning now, like just giving an introduction of deep learning and then talking about why, like, why a lot of people are talking about deep learning and why it has become so popular these days. Okay, so yeah, as I said earlier, deep learning is also like part of a broader family of machine learning methods. So it's typically based on artificial neural networks, mainly inspired by neurons that are in a brain, right? So based on that, artificial neural networks came in, and then based on that, deep neural networks came at a later stage, right? Yeah. So again, in deep learning, again, the learning can be supervised, semi-supervised, and unsupervised. It's the same thing. What holds good for ML, so that also holds good here. Even reinforcement learning these days, so they use deep learning. So it's called as deep reinforcement learning. So before me explaining like why deep learning is so popular, so just wanted to hear from you guys. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure like at least few of you might have some experience in deep learning. So any thoughts like why deep learning is like popular these days?
Like because of its good results, like it's able to perform quite close to a human being is performing, and also it's like helping us to reduce manual effort at in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Any other aspects do you think, I mean, that led to deep learning being so very popular these days? Yeah, what you said is definitely right.
Also,
So,
like there has been a data boom currently going on in in last 2 to 3 years. Like it said, about 50% of data it has been generated in the last 2 years, and earlier also there was deep learning, but it was not so popular because there was not quite data to train it and make it quite robust. But now there's a lot of data and easily available, so like that is also a reason behind it.
yeah, exactly. Right. So my next slide explains basically what you just explained. So basically, you can see how much data has been increased when compared to like 2010 to 2020, right? So it's kind of exponential increase in the data that is coming in. That's because of sensors. That's because of smartphones. So because of change in like, I mean, the technology improvements in technology. So those all aspects come into picture, right? So IoT, and yeah, I mean, with the sensors, it's like so many data points are generated. I mean, the velocity with which the data is coming in is pretty high. So you can see, like in 2020 or 2021, so data is like very huge. And to some extent, I would say getting the labeled data is still a like issue, because a lot of data is like unlabeled data, right? So, and deep learning to some extent can tap that potential as well. So I'll be explaining that in coming slides. And one other thing is like, if you look at traditional ML models, right? So if you increase the data, performance, I mean, to some extent it might increase, but if you see the increase of the performance, model performance, with respect to deep neural networks versus traditional ML, right, with increasing data, so that's a huge increase, right? So that is one main reason. So yeah, getting label data or so those kind of things is still hard, but let's say if we have some annotators and if we can get some label data, so definitely like deep models performance increase with the data, right? And also to some extent it might start like generalizing it, not it might not overfit to a subset of data, right? So that is there. And you can see like shallow neural networks and medium neural networks. So shallow is nothing but like I mean, deep networks having only like few layers, and medium is like between very deep and like a shallow network, right? Few layers are there, right? Okay, so this is one reason. And so other reason is like feature engineering. So when it's traditional, let's say we are building an ML model, right? So then there has to be some feature engineering, right? Feature selection, feature engineering. So those kind of things that needs to be done manually, right? So yeah, so given the input data, one has to manually prepare the features and then feed it to the like model and then get the predictions. So but when it's deep learning, it's just like you just feed the data with the labels or without the labels to the deep model. So that itself is taking care of like what kind of features to learn given the task in hand, right? So that's like kind of a very big advantage here. And also kind of a caveat as well, because sometimes it's hard to see that what exactly the kind of features that are being learned, right? So if it's convolution neural networks or attention kind of networks, then we can like after training the model, we can look into some aspects and see that okay, what kind of features are being learned. We can interpret the models, but in some other extent, in some type of models, it's very difficult to see that okay, what are the type of features that are learned by the model, right? So that is kind of slightly harder in deep networks. And other is like self-supervised learning, right? So there was a meme for this self-supervised learning, because there is no one to like supervise this particular dog, let's say when it's walking in a road or something. So it itself is like holding its belt and then trying to walk. So there's no external supervision. So a dog itself is like holding the belt and then trying to walk over a certain road or certain region, right? So here it's like training a model. So it's like we are using the labels that are, I mean, naturally part of the input data rather than explicit external labels, right? So I'll give an example. So there was one network called, so this self-supervised learning is like widely used in computer vision or natural language processing these days. So I guess many of you would have heard of like transformer models, and also like a VGG and transfer learning kind of an approaches, right? So where you're not learning from scratch, so you're using some experience that the model has already learned and then trying to build on top of that, right? Yeah. So here we don't have any explicit labels. So it's a so RotNet. There's a paper called RotNet, which is totally based on self-supervised learning. So given the image, you just rotate the images, let's say in multiples of 90 degrees. Okay, and then so try to predict okay, given the input image, so what is the angle, right? So let's say is it given the input image, is it rotated by 90 degrees, is it rotated by 180 degrees, or is it rotated by, let's say, 270 degrees, right? So here we didn't have any explicit label with us, right? So we just had an image we just rotated the image in multiples of 90 degrees, and then we are making the model to predict what is the rotation, degree of rotation, right? So is it not rotated or is it rotated by some angles, right? So if model is able to learn this one, intuitively speaking, it's trying to understand the content that is present in the image, right? Now let's say how the model is able to predict, okay, it's like rotated by 90 degrees, right? Maybe it's looking at the head region of this particular bird, and then based on that, it's trying to predict, okay, it's rotated by 90 degrees, right? That means it's looking into the content of the image and then trying to learn the features accordingly and then make a prediction, right? So there is no external supervision. So when I say external supervision, it's like we don't have a label saying that, okay, this particular bird is so and so, and then the model needs to learn based on that. So we don't have those kind of information, right? So it's like kind of an implicit. So other example would be like jigsaw puzzle, right? So those kind of things also can be like, there are a lot of ways of doing it. I'll not go into the deep of like self-supervised learning. So I can point you to different resources if needed. Okay, yeah. So why I was stressing on that point is because data has like, exponentially grown, right? So we have like so much of unlabeled data. So with self-supervised learning, we can, make use of it, make use of the unlabeled data and train the network in some fashion. And instead of training the network from scratch, we use this experience and then try to train for, let's say, classifying birds. Okay, so that's the whole point of, talking about self-supervised learning. And other is like transfer learning. So intuitively speaking, transfer learning is like, let's say, you know how to ride the bicycle, right? Now you want to learn how to ride a bike, right? Versus you are learning to ride a bike from scratch. That means you don't know how to ride bicycle. So obviously the learning that is required in the second case, when I say second case, it's learning to ride a bike from like scratch. You don't have any experience, you don't know how to balance and all those things, right? So there the learning is like, we need a lot of learning, right? So learning curve is high, and also we might take a lot of time to learn, right? So but if you know already like how to ride a bicycle, you know how to balance, you know, like when there's some obstacle I need to put a brake, so those kind of things are already like aware of it, right? You're aware of it, right? Now so with the bike, it's just like you have extra things like gears and all those things, right? So there is an accelerator and there is a gear as an extra thing, so you just need to get familiar with those things. There the learning is very less, right, compared to learning from scratch. So that's the intuition of transfer learning. So in deep learning, so this is possible. With traditional ML, so this is definitely not possible. So given a data set, you are learning, let's say you are trying to achieve a task 1, given a data set 2, then you are like trying to like do a different task, I would say. But let's say here, so let's say you are learned a particular task. Instead of starting from scratch, you can use the knowledge and then use it for the like task 2. Even though if the task is totally different, there might be like few aspects that is being covered by the first task that might be useful for the second task, right? So this is basically, widely used in computer vision and natural language processing these days. So I guess many of you would have heard of like BERT models and all those things, right? Like because of transfer learning, there's a boom in NLP area, and also a lot of state-of-the-art papers coming out because of transfer learning, right? And same thing happened for computer vision area long back, where BGG kind of networks came in, and there was an ImageNet challenge, and people trained models on ImageNet data, and that particular model is being used for different tasks. Okay, so that's that's details about the transfer learning. And yeah, definitely hardware improvements is one other aspect why deep learning is very popular these days. So GPUs are like freely available these days. When I say freely available, it's like Kaggle, Google Colab. So those are like, they are providing free GPUs to us, and that's because the compute is cheap these days, right, compared to what it was before, like 10 years back or 5 years back, right? So I remember when I started my journey, like it was pretty hard to get GPUs. We were like struggling, and if there is a single GPU that is available on the, let's say, Windows machine, also we are like so happy to train our models. But these days, like 16 GB GPUs are available freely to some extent in Google Colab and like Kaggle. So because of GPUs, yeah, I mean, large data sets, training with large data sets is like pretty easier. And also, if you have a like very large model, then definitely you need large data sets. And because of PyTorch, TensorFlow, so these kind of frameworks, it's easier to like train model these days, right? And then finally, like uh, applicability in multiple domains, right? So these days, almost every domain is like introducing AI and like deep learning things, and they have seen like a lot of improvements. So you can see a few examples are like in medical domain as well. Like there are a lot of improvements with like deep learning based solutions, especially with respect to image, and then media entertainment. So you can look at the kind of recommendations that we get on Netflix based on what we have watched. So also like these techniques are widely used in security defense, and as I said earlier, autonomous machines is also one other area like has seen a lot of improvements because of recent advancements in deep learning. Yeah. So yeah, so these are like, I mean, different reasons why deep learning has been like very popular, and there are like certain challenges as well. So I mean, last year, so there was some news saying that AI camera, right? So it was repeatedly like getting confused between a football and a bald head that is there, right? So it was thinking that okay, bald head is like looking like a football, and then the focus was going towards this particular referee over here. So thinking that side is like a football, right? So that's still a long way to go, right? Because uh, one thing is definitely uncertainty in the models. If let's say if model is not sure on its prediction, does it say it doesn't know on which categories, let's say it's doing a classification, right? So it tries to force its prediction towards a certain labels based on certain probability scores towards that particular class, right? So that is like kind of a problem. So we need to handle uncertainty in a better way. So there are like recently there are some advancements in like Bayesian deep learning, so those kind of things, trying to see how uncertain a model is, and then trying to take a decision based on that. So this is definitely, I mean, very important in fields like I mean, medical domains and all, right? So where if you're using AI systems or let's say deep learning to make some predictions, then you want the predictions to be very accurate. You don't want some uncertainty in predictions, right? If you're uncertain, then it's okay to say you're uncertain, right? So it's not like you are forcing the prediction towards certain class of values, right? So that is not, I mean, expected, and that's why I said there's long way to go in this particular field. And yeah, again, other aspect is like fairness. So when making decisions, usually sometimes the data is also very biased because the labels are coming in from humans only, right? Sometimes. So the way I label the data versus someone labels the data, so it might be totally different. So the task in, let's say for the task in hand, for the same task, right? So then I might have some bias towards certain aspects and label it in a different fashion. So if that bias goes into the data itself, then model also would be biased towards certain attributes. So we definitely don't want that in place, because let's say you're building a model to say that should I give a loan to particular person or not, right? So then it should be like fair for everyone. It should not treat a person differently based on certain attributes like gender or certain attributes like, let's say, geography. So those kind of things. We want the like model to be like very fair towards different attributes and treat everyone like the same, right? And other a big question is like model generalizability, right? So uh, yeah, you can say that my model is like 99% accurate, right? What if a sample like kind of slightly varies, comes into picture, right? So in that sense, model might fail, right? So basically, model generalizability is also a big question when it comes to like deep learning models or any other models in general. Right? Yeah, so that's all I had on explaining like what is AI, and so those aspects like different components is an overlap between ML, DL, AI, and also talking about different types of machine learning techniques, and then coming to deep learning, and then talked about why deep learning is like very popular these days, uh, different reasons, and also I mean few failure cases, right, based on recent news that are like coming in, right. And so these are definitely like research areas themselves, like fairness, model generalizability, and uncertainty. A lot of research is happening in this area. And yeah, so at last, like I would just like to like point you guys to a blog. So a lot of people are asking me like how to start their like journey in data science or let's say artificial intelligence. So yeah, I've written a blog that is posted in towards data science. Sorry. Yeah, basically talked about. Shri, do we have time, or I can just share this link in the chat and people can go through this?
You can share the link. Like people would also have questions. So I believe we can.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I'm open to take any questions.
Yeah. Guys, please ask all questions that you have. You won't get another opportunity like this any other time.
Yeah, can you please tell us about some programs like in which we can participate, which are actually related to the, AIML?
You mean like kind of training programs or like competitions?
Like programs like let's say there are Google Summa of course, where we can also look for projects which are on AIML. So are there any other like similar programs like that?
What is the program you told from Google? You're
Like in Google Summa of Code, there are projects, right,
Okay,
owned
okay.
by organizations. So are there any similar programs like that?
I'm not exactly aware of that, but there are like a few programs like from Uber. Yeah, I'm not able to recall the name exactly, but something like Uber Summer School, something like that, like Uber, then also ML, uh, Apple, Shell. They're like lot of companies providing like summer school, or I exactly forgot the name, but definitely there are like few opportunities to like I mean even for BTech students, right. I can like share it with Shrey, and then he can share it with you guys. I'm not able to recall the exact name.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and definitely there are like I mean platforms like Kaggle and Hacker Earth, or yeah, so they can follow those also to like to some extent. I mean, getting an exposure of different problem statements, right? So, so Cloud Analytics, Hacker Earth, Kaggle Analytics, Vidya. So these are like kind of known platforms where you can go and compete, and then work on some like real world like problem statements. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, like this field is so vast that there are so many possible fields like we can go into. So like, how do we like define a path, or like how do we limit ourselves? Like that's it. Like we don't can't go any further. Like how do we decide like which path do we go on finally?
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, initially, definitely explore different things, and then take a call based on like what excites you more. So that is what I have done at least. So initially during my college days, based on different like courses that are available online, also like few electives uh, that I took. So I got an opportunity to like explore different fields, right? And then coming to a decision based on my specific interest. Like, okay, I felt that okay, computer vision and like working with unstructured data is like what excites me. So based on that, okay, I take a call. Okay, saying that okay, I'm like I will follow the path in this particular field, right? And definitely there will be some overlap with, let's say, these fields and other fields as well. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's a question from Sanchit Arora. So his question is how to practice AI ML. We generally learn a lot about AI ML in books and all, but how do we apply these in projects?
Yeah, so I mean, straight away, I would not recommend anyone to like start with the projects. So I would say get familiar with the theory stuff like statistics, probability, linear algebra. So those things, and get familiar with basics of ML, and then slowly like start picking the projects. So as I said, there are like different platforms like Kaggle, Analytics Vidya, where they're hosting different challenges, and it's like different companies are coming and they are like sharing the data set, and then trying to get solution from people. Like, I mean, they want to see what kind of approaches people take, and try to get better accuracies with the kind of data that they have like put on the competition platform, right? So it's kind of real-time data only, I would say. So instead of solving any like working with the toy data set, I would strongly recommend I mean, using this real-world data sets and then getting your hands dirty in that particular area.
Okay. Yeah, so another question is from Akshay. So his question is what should be the system specifications, or in general, what all tools should be required for AI/ML?
Yeah, I mean, these days, as I said, like GPUs are available freely, right? So Google Colab also provides free GPU, and like Kaggle also provides around like 40 hours of GPU compute on a weekly basis. So I would say previously, I mean, having the GPU on machine was like recommended because I mean, we were not able to get free compute outside. But now at this point, like since we have the compute available freely, so I would not say, I mean, having the GPUs on the local machines. Even if you have GPUs on the local machine, so it's like only like 4 GB, or to some extent, if you're buying a very, I mean, expensive GPU card, then like, I mean, we can attach it to the local machine and then have a very powerful machine, right? But I would recommend using the open source, the already, I mean, freely available options instead of having the system configured locally. What was the other part of the question? I forgot.
Like it was actually about specifications, like what should the specifications, like what tools should we should use for AI/ML.
Okay, and yeah, like I mean, so these days like PyTorch and TensorFlow, so I mean, we can learn them easily and also use GPU along with that, right? So previously it was like pretty hard, but now with very minimal changes in the code, even not even like few line changes, it's just like few parameter changes, we can use GPUs. So PyTorch or TensorFlow, anything is fine.
Just a quick follow-up to the question, like the answer you just answered. Like, you mentioned PyTorch and TensorFlow. Like, there's a constant debate, like which is better and where do you use, like where to use either. So, like, could you like give some idea about that part?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a very, I mean, tough question. I would say again depends on your personal preference. So I personally, initially, I used to use PyTorch a lot because TensorFlow lazy version was very difficult to code with sessions, managing sessions, and all those things. But in PyTorch, we don't face those issues, right? So there's no concept of sessions and lazy evaluation, or let's say eager evaluation, right? So I was using PyTorch initially. Yeah, now I use like PyTorch or TensorFlow too. So both are like kind of, I mean, solves the problem. So yeah, again, if it's any repository that is already available, be it be any like framework, PyTorch or TensorFlow, I'll start with that. If I'm coding from scratch, then I'll think twice. Like, okay, depending on what I have in mind, should I choose TensorFlow or like PyTorch, depending on the complexity of the task.
Okay. And a quick question also, one more. Like regarding the language, like Python and R are both very famous. Like R is mainly for statistical machine learning, and that people say, and Python
Yeah.
is like very popular. So like, how much impact does a language really have, like, on the development and the learning part?
Yeah, at least what I've seen is like people are moving towards Python from our at least based on what I've seen in Walmart or any other, like talking to my colleagues and friends, right? So definitely people are moving from R to Python because of the deployment aspect also into consideration. Because let's say you're doing some pre-processing or doing an EDA, then any language would be fine. But if you're putting the same into production, then people prefer like Python over R in most of the cases because of the scaling. Because I've heard that I haven't used R extensively, so can't comment much on that. But what I've heard is like uh, it's like slightly slower, and getting the concurrency and all those things is like slightly harder with R compared to Python. So, and also the kind of options that we have with Python, right? Like, I mean, R also has Keras and all those things, but the community support and all those things is like, I would say, is rich for Python compared to R.
I believe that sums up all the questions. Like, could you like give a like final words of advice to all the newcomers and also to the people who are currently pursuing AIML and how to proceed further?
Yeah, definitely. So don't directly start with deep learning because a lot of people are fascinated towards what deep learning can do these days. So even I did the same thing when I like just came out from college. Then I realized that okay, I'm not taking the right path. So basically, the perception that I had was like, okay, I'm able to run few models using like deep learning techniques. Then I was like, I know data science. Then coming to Walmart, interacting with few people, like got to know that okay, data science is much more, and let's say AI is like much more. It's not just like building the models. It's more of like getting the theoretical aspects right. If you are good at theory, then you can do anything you want, right? So if you're very good at fundamentals, then you'll be like more confident. And let's say your model is failing sometimes, then if you just have the package level knowledge, then it's very difficult to debug that particular model. But if you're like very strong fundamentally, then it's easier to debug any situation, right? So what I would suggest is don't fall into the trap, given that you guys are, I mean, most of you are at least still studying in college. So I would say spend your time in getting the fundamentals right, and then like going to like trying out different things out.
Okay. There's one last question in the chat. Like, are there any sample project ideas which you could provide to the people?
Yeah. So best place is Stanford projects. So usually they put up the different projects that the students are working on for different subjects. So just search for like Stanford projects in, let's say, deep learning or any other ML aspect. So I can share the link as well. So you can see different few novel ideas as well as few older ones explained in a better fashion and experimenting with that. So definitely a good place to I mean, look into different projects. And also there are like machine learning dataset repositories like UCI machine learning repository. So that is also a very good place to play with different kinds of data.
Okay. Thanks, Rajesh, for that. Yeah, I believe that there are no more questions. We can wind up the talk now.
Yeah, I hope I didn't confuse you guys with a lot of terminologies. I hope you were at least able to get a gist of different aspects of AI. And yeah, thanks for attending, and thanks the GDSC team, IIITH, for providing me an opportunity.
Yeah, it was our pleasure to
Thanks for
have.
the session.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there any way we could contact you after this?
Yeah, so you can reach out on Twitter or LinkedIn. So I'll just maybe ping the handle in the group that Shay created.
Yeah.
Yeah, just mention that so you are part of this talk, so that I can sometimes get lots of requests, so difficult to go through each and every one. So if you're mentioning about this particular talk, then I can filter those out. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Okay. So Now we'll quickly give an overview of the sessions that we are planning to hold. So, yeah, just 1 minute. I'll share my screen. Yeah. Okay. Just tell me when it's visible.
It's visible.
Okay. Yeah, Midkirat, you can go ahead now.
Yeah, so like, welcome to AI/ML team for GDSC Hyderabad. So we are planning to have some sessions to help the newcomers get some insight into AI/ML. So this is the agenda for today. So like, we will start with why do we need these sessions and what the need we thought is like currently in our system. And the second, we will see like who is this session properly meant for and some prerequisite, not a lot, and then we will go about a basic overview of the content, and then we will wrap up the session. Okay, so let's begin. Okay, so like me and Shay would be like the facilitator for the session. Like, you can contact us anytime if you have any doubts.
Okay, so I'll quickly highlight like the main reasons we are keeping these sessions. One is a very selfish reason. We also want to learn. We also want to learn and grow and interact with you guys. So that is a selfish reason, which I am admitting. Another reason is that machine learning is not heavily promoted in colleges right now. It's mainly overdosed by software development and computer programming. So there's no as such community, and we want people to learn and. Oh, sorry. Okay. Just 1 minute. Wait. Yeah. So we want people to learn and grow with us. Oh, sorry for that. Yeah. We want people to learn and interact with us, so we can also discover new things via the interaction which we have with you guys. So that's the reason we are mainly taking these sessions. So yeah. Okay. And yeah, who all should attend these sessions? First of all, a person who is deeply interested in machine learning and AI and who wants to learn and grow in this field. They should be motivated enough to like. It's not a particular class. We won't have any attendance or sort. It's mainly on the basis of your will if you want to attend or not. So like motivated candidates are always welcome. And yeah, if you're curious and you want to learn more and you're ready to participate, like again, like as Rajesh also said in this meet, we don't want it to be a one-way session. Like we keep teaching and you keep absorbing it. It will become very boring and monotonous very soon. So like if it is always a two-way conversation, we give activities, you can do that and also come back with something more from which everybody can learn. That would be very helpful for everyone in the session who will be attending the sessions. And yeah, you are learning a new field, so there are bound to become there are many difficulties which you will face. Like I can't even pip install a few things right now, so there are those things, and we can tackle those things together. But you should be ready to face those things. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just 1 second. What is happening? Yeah. Good, Kirat.
So like, there is not much prerequisite you need to have to complete the session. Like, you must know basic maths, basic matrices, some basic probability would be good to know, and some basic calculus would also be required, and some basic Python syntax with like function and all would be good enough to go with the sessions.
Yeah.
Okay, so then,
Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry.
okay, so like currently we are planning to start with the session with some maths, because maths is a very integral part of any ML, any machine learning topic we study. So like, we will start with some probability and statistics, and we will go into some calculus if we see any interest in something like that. Then we'll come to Python, the proper NumPy syntax, the proper Panda syntax. These both libraries are very, very important to get to use. It's very important to understand this library properly, so as you can easily work with the algorithm later, because these are heavily used everywhere you go in machine learning. And then we will go on to ML algorithms, like what the Rajesh just talked about, some amazing algorithms. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
So like, you can contact us on these links. We will share this PPT with you. Okay, you can anytime contact us. You can also join the Discord server. We will have continuous post there. Also for the schedule of the sessions, we will post it later on LinkedIn and every other place we
Yeah, on the GDSC Discord server and also on the Facebook group. So do follow all these groups regularly. We will like not just for AI and ML, for other tracks including Android, Flutter, and everything. All the content would be shared in these public groups and on Facebook. So please make sure to join them and be a part of that. Uh, yeah. So we'll thank you for your attention on this start. And like for those of you who did stick around, thanks for that a lot. And Yash prepared an uh, yeah, we will share the links with you over here itself. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. In the meanwhile, Yash prepared a nice quiz, like a trivia quiz on AI and ML. So, like, Yash, you there? Okay. There is he.
Right, am I audible?
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, right, I was muted. Acha, so I'll share my screen now. There's a desktop. Okay. Do I need to? Acha, I can share a window. Right. Can you see my Kahoot screen? And are you able to see the
Not
game?
yet. Yeah, I'm able to see it now.
yeah also like share the link in the chat just so that everyone
Acha, the pin. Right.
Yeah. Everyone, please like open this URL like kahoot.it. I send the link in the chat itself, and it will prompt you to enter a pin. Just enter the pin which Yash will message on the chat itself.
For some reason, it's coming out to be a very big font, but well, okay.
Okay, I'll just type it out. Wait, 32492.
Press Control Shift V instead of Control V.
Yeah.
yeah
Okay.
you press Control V HTML proper copy.
Yeah, I just copied it. I just pressed Control C and Control V then.
Yeah. Okay. Like, see,
Boomer.
these types of errors we will face together in AIML sessions. Okay. So, like, I request everyone to join. It would be fun. It's a fun trivia quiz. So, yeah. And you're free to keep any names you want. So, yeah. Nice emoji.
So should we start? Is there anyone else left?
Just wait for a minute or so, like just in case.
There's still people coming, right?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
quite nice names are coming.
Yeah.
GG. Lick. Damn. Nice. Like the session will be quite interactive and all. Like there is nothing like a class. We will just keep teaching and teaching. We just want to interact and have some fun and learning quite new stuff in AIML. Like when we were at your stage, like we were not able to. We were not given so much great opportunity to like learn ML and all the stuff. Like if you are getting it, you should like take proper care of
Okay,
it.
so should we begin?
Is everybody in like? If anybody is left, just
Everybody's
press
on board, yes.
Just one thing, like make sure that you know that only the option like icon will appear on your screen. For
Yeah,
the
yeah,
question
yeah.
and option, you will have to see this screen only.
So this is Sanchit. He is the Android lead of GDSC. Follow him also on LinkedIn. They are planning good things, so it would be fun.
Chalo, then let's start. Okay.
Yeah.
Which first?
Please. Don't Google anything, guys.
It's not a quiz.
Okay.
Only one
Well,
person.
I was expecting a lot for the Ferranti Mark 1. This was programmed by a professor from Oxford.
I think everyone thought like IBM is the oldest company they know of. Like it would be the first.
So then let's go to the next.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, that's Akshat.
Okay. What's the name of the subject? Okay, this is for all the movie fans out there, like me.
Yay! The only question I know. So what I supposed? Okay, I'm now wondering, did I pay attention to the session properly? Because this definitely did not come in session.
Yeah, it's not related to the session at all. Okay.
it's just a fun trivia game.
It's a fun
Yeah.
trivia. It's not a quiz like you're grading about. Yeah.
Yeah, Ali, yes, let's go.
Nice.
Oh,
Only three.
interestingly, the name of this hotel is actually Weird Hotel when you translate it from Japanese to English.
I think like everyone thought like Japan is everyone like had in tech, so like Tokyo. It was a quite good guess. I must say that.
Okay.
Sanchit is on the top.
Oh, nice. This was a bit straightforward question. So, but still, I'm amazed why Werner von Braun. Like,
Okay, who is Werner von Braun? I don't even know that guy.
he was a scientist. He was a rocket scientist during the Second World War time. So, and then he migrated to the US. And if I remember correctly, he was one of the scientists working on the Manhattan Project as well. Not sure about that, but
Okay.
probably.
Okay. This has been in the paper a lot recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right.
Hi. Nice. Yeah. Chalo, nice job. The Samuel is actually a scientist with I'm not sure if he is but a scientist with IBM. Come on, guys. This is a bit too straightforward question. Please don't mess this up. Yes. The reigning world chess champion in question is Garry Kasparov. That was in probably 1999 or 98 or maybe near the turn of the millennium something. Okay, let's go.
Like I wrote the answer for this question in the chat. I didn't
Okay, let me see.
Let's see who was seeing the chat properly. Like I didn't know like there it goes in the quiz.
Nice.
Nice, people read chat.
चलो at least nice. चलो अच्छा.
Okay, who is the highest? Annie. Okay.
Annie is
Close
gonna
lead.
win. Pakka.
Anybody knows it? Okay, one person did. Okay.
Who was it?
Very-
Yeah, please
Can
say
anybody
the
tell me who was this person? Like who
Oh
was
my
this one
god.
person?
I knew it was Annie. I knew it.
Who is Annie?
Like, can you just message in the chat? Like, I was
Yeah.
not expecting anyone to know that. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty.
I mean, I like sci-fi movies a lot, so I watch old ones also.
Yeah. This was the first AI program, and this was ran on the Ferranti Markov machine.
Okay.
So
So
it's
who-
pretty much sure who the first
Okay,
one is,
like-
but well, okay.
Okay.
Yay!
Annie.
Congratulations, Annie.
Annie is OP.
Although it was much too obvious, but okay.
Nice.
Nice.
Very nice. Okay.
Okay, so like all the session will be like quite enjoyable. We will have some fun. Like it's not any like professor teaching something like that. Everybody is chill, speak anything we want. Just like you're sitting in a room and having some fun. Nothing more.
Yeah. So
Okay, so thank
hope
you
you
for
guys had fun in the session and could learn something. So yeah, we'll end this session now. Please do join the Discord channel, the GDSC Discord and the Facebook group. And you can ping like any four of us, Akshat, Yash, Gurkirat or me, for any information regarding the sessions ahead or that. We'll post about the timeline exactly in a few days. So
also if there are any questions, we are right here. Like we are probably here for 5 to 6 minutes. You can ask us.
yeah, if you have any more further questions, yeah. Otherwise, thank you all for who's the third person also, like the smiley face? Like if you are still in the meet, can you just say that?
I thought they left.
Okay, if they left, okay, they're still OP. Nice. Okay. So okay.
Shyam.
Sure. Okay, so you are the third or you were the second?
Second.
Okay, nice. Hi. Okay. How do you know all this here? Nice.
Anyway.
Okay.
So it was a fun session. Till the next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yash.